Welcome to Learning Latin. In this introduction to Latin nouns, we will go through all the cases of nouns in the first and second declension. We'll start with the nominative. The nominative is the case a noun takes when it is the subject of a sentence, and the subject is the actor which actually acts upon another object. So the subject is the doer, and the object is what receives the action. So in this case of the word the sentence "the woman loves the master," femina is the subject, and in the nominative case, as we can see, it has the a at the end for the feminine noun, and dominum has the um ending, which means it is in the accusative case, so it is the object of the sentence and actually receives the action. So we would say that femina is the nominative subject of amat, the verb she loves, and dominum is the accusative direct object. And as you can see, we have masculine, feminine and neuter as the three genders that nouns can take. And while shown here, the masculine and the neuter both are both part of the second declension of nouns, and the feminine, femina, is a first declension noun. There are actually all different genders in all of the different declensions of nouns, so don't let gender fool you when you're trying to figure out what declension a noun is in. Then when it comes to this accusative example, as we've said, dominum is the accusative of dominus, and feminam is the accusative of femina. You will note that for the neuter, the accusative is always the same as the nominative, at least in the second declension, but that does carry on through most declensions in Latin, that the accusative and the nominative in neuter nouns are the same, whether they are singular or plural. And the example here is: the master drags the girl, dominus puellam trahit. Puellam being the accusative direct object of trahit, because the girl is directly acted upon by the master who drags her. Now the genitive case denotes possession, and it is the possessor, the owner of an item or person or animal which goes into the genitive case. So in this example, the woman warns the master of the temple. Obviously the master in this case belongs to the temple in a sense. So femina dominum templi monet. Templi is the genitive and takes ownership of dominum, the master, because he is the master of the temple. Just like that is the donut of Homer Simpson, you might say, because it belongs to him. So here you would say that templi takes the genitive and is the possessive of dominum. The dative case is used for the indirect object. The indirect object is when a noun receives an action but not directly, and there's usually another noun which takes the brunt of the action of the verb, but the dative shows that something else is also affected, and that noun will take the dative case. So here we have domino and templo in the second declension, and we have feminae in the first declension, feminine. The messenger gives the money to the woman. So the messenger, nuntius, is the subject. Pecuniam, the money, is the direct object, because that is what's being given, so it is directly affected by dat. And feminae is dative, and it is the indirect object, because the money is being given to the woman. And you also notice that the dative and the genitive case for the feminine are the same in this example, and you'll have to use the context of the sentence to figure out which one it will be, and it should be quite obvious, especially in more simple examples, but also even in a more complex sentence there'll be plenty of context to what you're translating, so you should have a good level of confidence in which one will make sense in that case. But we'll get to that when we get to that. The ablative case has a few functions. I wouldn't go as far to say as it has a main function, whereas the other cases I've mentioned so far sometimes have extra functions. I've gone through their main functions to avoid confusion, but the ablative case does a lot of things. So the ablative can be used for instrumental use. So if I hit a nail with a hammer, the hammer would be going into the ablative in that sentence because it's the instrument of the subject of the sentence. But also the ablative is used for when nouns act in accordance with each other in such a way that the word with would be used to connect them. For example, the messenger and the slave girl walk through the garden with the boy. The boy will go into the ablative case. And the ablative is also used for movement away from a place. So if it was a sentence saying the boy comes from the temple, temple would go into the ablative case and would be templo. Here the example is the girl punishes the slave with a sword, and as you can see on the side there, cum is the word for with in Latin, but it is not used in the case of the instrumental use. When we have the instrumental, i.e. with a sword, you don't use cum, because cum is just for companionship. The messenger with the girl, the boy with the man. So the correct translation here is puella servum gladio puniet, with gladio going into the ablative because it is the instrumental of puniet. So here are some examples. Why don't you pause the video and from your notes or your memory, if you have a very good memory, try and figure out what these say in English. The first one is the easiest and the last one is the hardest. Pause now and in a few seconds I will reveal the answers. The master gives the money to the temple. Templo takes the dative in this example because it is the indirect object. The girl walks with the messenger into the temple. Nuntio takes the ablative in this example because it is the companion of puella and the preposition cum is used. And the last one, the slave of the master kills the messenger with a sword and gives the money to the slave girl. So we have domini in the genitive case to show possession. We have gladio in the ablative case to show it's the instrument, and we have ankile in the dative case to show that it is the indirect object. Well done if you got that last one. Next time we will be going over the infinitive and the imperative, two very useful constructions for verbs in Latin. Thank you for watching and see you next time.